Well, interesting. Sanjeev Sanyal, thank you very much. Congratulations on this book, Land of the Seven Rivers, Brief History of India's Geography, which has just been brought out. Thank you very much, Sanjeev, for coming. It's a brief history of India's geography. So let's pick up on one of the points you make in your book. You talk about, there's already a controversy over the disappearance of the Saraswati. You link that to the history that followed. Can you tell me, for example, let's take a few pointers on how the Saraswati drying up, the river Saraswati drying up, is a case in point, as a turning point in Indian history?
Absolutely. So climate change has affected Indian history many times before. Now it turns out that the so-called Indus Valley civilization was largely based on this dried river, because that's where 60% or thereabouts of the settlements were based. Yeah. And then what happens is that tectonic events cause many of its tributaries to move away, because the Yamuna and the Sutlej used to originally flow into the Saraswati. And as this happens and climate also begins to dry out, this river essentially dries up and this civilization collapses. And the people, the Harappans, are essentially forced to move on to either southern India or onto the Gangetic Plain, and that is what essentially triggers Indian civilization.
But geography can at the most be only one of the things that affects history. History is a product of many things. It's not unidimensional.
Absolutely. And in fact, throughout this book, I do talk about many other factors. For example, this is not just the history of geography, it is also the geography of our civilization. So yes, I do try to make that point. So while it is about geography, it's also about genetics, it's about many other factors.
That's a controversial part. You know, you speak about the genetic data on Indians, and you're drawing a very, very big and large conclusion that there is no such thing and has been no such thing as Dravidians or Aryans, and that we are a mixed group.
Absolutely, we are a mixture.
Where is what data have you depended on? Because this can be fairly controversial.
Over the last 10 years, there's an enormous amount of genetic data that is now available. And it turns out that we are the mixture of all kinds of genetic streams that have been here and mixing since the Stone Age. And as it turns out, there was no such, there is absolutely no evidence, genetic or archaeological or textual, of a bunch of people on horseback charging down into India from Central Asia in 1500
So what
BC.
is the reason behind that myth in your view?
It is speculation from the 19th century. It was convenient for the British to paint themselves as latter-day Aryans, so to speak. It was a part of the 19th century racial view of the world. I have no idea why on earth we persist with it.
Many politicians will be fairly unhappy with your comment there.
It may be, but it is up to them to then prove to the world why the genetics shows absolutely no signs of this. Of course, we are a mixed group, but we are mixed in all kinds of ways and have been from the Stone Age.
Sanjeev, tell me, India 2012, if someone were to ask you what is the one thing in our present day geography, and this is not a quiz question.
Okay.
It's one thing in our present day geography which will impact the next generation's history in India, what would that be?
That would be absolutely urbanization. I spent 2.5 years away from my job, traveling across India, talking to all kinds of people. And I can tell you one thing for sure, the children of farmers do not want to farm. So within one generation, India will be an urban majority country.
And how does that impact our future history?
Certainly, you know, as we urbanize, our society will change, our politics will change, and of course, one of the major things that will begin to happen through the course of just this decade is going to be the fact that you're going to have a brand new middle class replacing the old middle class. And this group is now making its way up. Our call centers are working in our malls and so on, and they will essentially replace the old middle class, and their tastes, their political aspirations, their economic aspirations will absolutely transform India.
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, this is a fascinating book, an interesting link that you've drawn. Congratulations for it, Sanjeev. You're also you're an economist, you're a global strategist with the Deutsche Bank. I don't know how you find the time for this, but interesting read there. Thank you very much, Sanjeev. This is the book, Land of the Seven Rivers, Brief History of India's Geography by Sanjeev Sanyal. Thank you very much, Sanjeev, for joining me today. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.